Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show. If even this interstellar warrior is dead, then the interstellar warrior will not be able to fight at all. They can only choose to surrender. Stop fighting. They started shouting and begging Su Yan for mercy. Seeing the group of interstellar warriors begging for mercy, a sneer appeared on the corner of Su Yan's mouth. Is it too late? Su Yan controlled the Hyperion and rammed toward the group of interstellar warriors. The speed of the Hyperion was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of this group of interstellar warriors. This group of interstellar warriors was also petrified. The huge gun barrels on the Hyperion are like meteors, 10 kilometers in diameter. The barrel was still smoking, and it looked like a giant rocket. Seeing the Hyperion rushing over, the group of interstellar warriors, with pale faces, fled around. The Hyperion's speed is very fast, and they dodge very hastily, but the Hyperion's speed is very fast, and their speed cannot be compared with the Hyperion. At this moment, they were also hit by the Hyperion, and they all flew out backwards, vomiting blood in midair. They were stunned by the speed of the Hyperion, and they did not dare to dodge one by one, for fear that after escaping, they would be hit and fly by the Hyperion, and at that time, they could only surrender obediently. They just want to run away now, out of this area. These interstellar warriors, there is no way, can only passively be beaten. The Hyperion's barrels, aimed at them, began to fire. The main gun of this Hyperion is extremely powerful, and it can kill them with one shot. They didn't have any resistance at all, they were blasted out directly, and they were all bruised by the main artillery bombardment of the Hyperion along the way. This scene looked extremely bloody and cruel. The speed of the Hyperion was very fast, and the reaction of these space warriors was also a beat slower. They wanted to escape, but there was no way to escape, they could only flee in embarrassment in front of the Hyperion. The speed of the Hyperion cannot be compared with that of a spaceship, but the performance of this Hyperion is also much better than that of ordinary spaceships. The Hyperion pursued the warriors while continuing to bombard them. They were bombarded by the main artillery of the Hyperion, and each of them suffered heavy damage. One of the space warriors was hit by a shell, and the entire body exploded in an instant. Their blood, broken flesh and broken bones splattered everywhere, and the scene looked extremely terrifying. "Don't attack us, don't attack us!" They wailed constantly, and their bodies were blasted into powder and turned to ashes. They didn't dare to resist anymore, they were afraid that they were not dead yet, and they were shot by Su Yan again. In this way, their losses will be even greater, and their subordinates will all die. They don't want to die. They could only pray that Su Yan would stop attacking them. These interstellar warriors surrendered one after another. This scene fell into the eyes of the warriors in the distance, and they were terrified. This Hyperion was so vicious that it defeated all the interstellar warriors, which reminded them of the previous spaceship. That spaceship was once so powerful, but they didn't expect it. In front of the spaceship, there was no power to parry. None of them could see clearly what the spacecraft did. The spaceship was destroyed just like that. These warriors also surrendered one after another. Su Yan controlled the Hyperion and continued to pursue it into the distance. Soon, he defeated all the star warriors. The strength of these interstellar warriors is really poor, and they are not challenging at all. Su Yan couldn't help shaking his head and said that he really couldn't have any interest in these interstellar warriors. These interstellar warriors are just a bunch of rabble. This is a super ship, such a high-tech thing. I've never heard of it before. The combat power of this super war fortress is so powerful that it is like a strategic level mecha. This kind of strategic level weapons and equipment does not exist on our planet at all. Which civilization does this spacecraft belong to? Such a powerful technological level? Is it an interstellar civilization? Ask for flowers. Seeing this scene, the group of warriors were stunned, and their eyes were full of surprise and shock. The super war fortress is not only a strong technological level, it is combat power, this is tactical literacy. And it is the main gun of this war fortress. It is not comparable to those ordinary war fortresses studied by scientists. The combat power of this super war fortress, even if it is compared to the interstellar civilization, is not a problem. No, this is an interstellar civilization level war fortress. I have never seen similar information in the archives of interstellar civilizations. Is this a spacecraft from other interstellar civilizations? This ship is really weird. Its appearance is not something that exists in this universe at all. Its internal structure, however, is exactly the same as all the objects in their universe, and it cannot be distinguished at all. This made them puzzled. No, there will never be such a sci-fi spaceship. They couldn't believe that this super war fortress would come from other interstellar civilizations. What planet is this warship on? How do I know? Maybe the owner of this battleship is a certain cosmic civilization. Where did the main guns of this battleship come from? There was a lot of discussion. However, they did not dare to attack this super war fortress. Whoosh! The Hyperion suddenly accelerated and continued to charge forward. The speed of this super war fortress was too fast. The interstellar warriors also surrendered and did not dare to attack Su Yan and others. They only hoped that the Hyperion would stop attacking them. He has no mercy for these warriors. Dealing with the enemy, he does not need mercy. Su Yan also didn't bother to ask the rest of the Star Warriors. As long as these Star Warriors didn't take the initiative to attack him, then they didn't bother to pay attention to the Star Warriors. Su Yan said, "I haven't seen such garbage yet." Although the Star Warriors are a little weaker, they are also Star Warriors after all. They are also a huge force. They can lead a large number of warriors into the galaxy. These warriors also have a good value loss to the galaxy. Su Yan also wants to subdue these space warriors, so he will repel these space warriors instead of chasing them. If these interstellar warriors don't know how to praise them, then he won't be polite. After these space warriors surrendered, Su Yan didn't attack them again, but stopped and let those space warriors all enter the spaceship. Immediately, he let the Hyperion return to its voyage and continue to drive forward. Their speed was very fast, and they disappeared on this planet very quickly. Which planet does the super war fortress come from? I don't know. I've never heard of such a powerful war fortress in the Milky Way. No matter which planet this super war fortress comes from, they must be very important. Such a war fortress will definitely cause a sensation, and even trigger some 953 large-scale wars. A group of interstellar warriors talked a lot, and their curiosity about this super war fortress was no less than that of those interstellar warriors just now. This super war fortress is really shocking. The main gun of this super war fortress is a weapon they have never seen before, and it is such an advanced and powerful weapon. It is not known which planet this super war fortress came from, but they possess such powerful weapons. They must have come from an interstellar civilization. Only the war fortress of the interstellar civilization has such a powerful combat power. Can it have such advanced weapons, and can it be so powerful? All of this proves that the origin of this super war fortress is absolutely extraordinary, and it is definitely a war fortress that surpasses ours. But these have nothing to do with us. We just need to protect this planet, and that's enough. These interstellar warriors don't want to explore the secrets of this super war fortress anymore, as long as they guard this planet. As for this super war fortress, it was this meteorite that refined this super war fortress. His repairability is extremely strong. Under his control, the super war fortress is constantly absorbing the energy in the meteorite. The super war fortress has super high defense and attack power. The attack performance of this super war fortress is far better than other interstellar warships. It is a super war fortress and also super armed. This super war fortress is a magic weapon. This is also one of the reasons why Su Yan wants to take over this super war fortress. If he buys this super war fortress, he can also get huge wealth. This is a super weapon. Yes. Such a super war fortress has the ability to destroy the interstellar war. It can be said to destroy the world. Once we have this super war fortress, our strength will be qualitatively improved. Yes, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Once the super war fortress falls into other hands, we will never get it again. All the interstellar warriors were very excited. They were all confused by the super war fortress, thinking that this was the super war fortress they needed, and they wanted to take this super war fortress as their own. Spaceships followed behind the super war fortress. They also want to take this opportunity to observe the super war fortress to obtain more information. They quickly gave up. The defense of the super war fortress was extremely strong, and they couldn't destroy the defense of the super war fortress at all. On the contrary, they will be attacked by the super war fortress, and they can't resist it at all. They can only follow from a distance, take a look at the super war fortress, and then make plans. In this way, Su Yan doesn't have to worry about them interfering with the super war fortress. Don't worry about them robbing the super war fort either. This super war fortress is the super war fortress I need. A thought flashed through Su Yan's mind. His goal is a super war fortress and 10 super war fortresses with destructive power. This super war fortress will definitely be in his pocket. Let's go to the Galactic Federation first. Su Yan flew towards the area where the Galactic Federation is located. Galactic Federation. Then it appeared over the Galactic Federation. The people of the Galactic Federation go out of the city immediately to welcome them. There was a loud shout, and the personnel of the Galactic Federation were dispatched one after another to greet the Super War Fortress. When they saw the Super War Fortress, they were also surprised, because they had never seen such a Super War Fortress, and it was the first time they saw such a Super War Fortress. The appearance of the Super War Fortress is almost the same as that of ordinary war fortresses. The only difference is that the interior of the Super War Fortress is full of sci-fi style. The appearance of the Super War Fortress has a very sci-fi flavor. One can tell at a glance that this Super War Fortress is not an ordinary Super War Fortress. Super War Fortress. The people of the Galactic Federation were amazed one after another, and their eyes showed strong excitement. This is the second time they have seen this Super War Fortress. This Super War Fortress, compared to their previous Super War Fortress, is simply a heaven and a world. The Super War Fortress landed slowly, and on both sides of the Super War Fortress stood hundreds of galactic guards wearing white armor. These white-armored galaxy guards have a silver-white medal on their chests, and there is a small pattern on the medal, which is an emblem representing the military rank. This small emblem represents the identity of these galaxy guards. Galactic guards are the most elite fighters of the Galactic Federation. My God, how did the Galactic Guards appear in the Galactic Federation? Could it be that the Galactic Federation is in crisis again? At this time, all the 5.8 members of the Galactic Federation were dispatched. What is going on? The Galactic Federation has a very important position in the universe. Few people have seen the Galaxy Guards. Basically, only the high-level members of the Galactic Federation know of the existence of the Galaxy Guards. These Galactic Guards, they have powerful strength and extraordinary tactical capabilities. They can be said to be the most elite troops of the Galactic Federation. This kind of army is a private army commanded by the major star systems. Once there is any battle, or in a critical moment, they can mobilize all the troops of the Galactic Federation to fight. These troops can be described as the trump card force of the Galactic Federation, and there are a total of 8 troops. The number of Galaxy Guards is more than double that of the Star Alliance troops. It can be said that each of these Galaxy Guards is the best of the best. It is the Super War Fortress of the Galactic Federation. It's so beautiful. I wish I could own one of these Super War Fortresses. Don't even think about it. The Super War Fortress is the top secret of our Federation. You are not qualified to own such a Super War Fortress. Humph, the top secret of your Federation is the Super War Fortress. Those of us have this authority and qualification. Well, since you say so, then I don't expect any more. These Galactic Federation people talked a lot, looking at the Super War Fortress. They all looked envious and jealous. Boom! The galactic battleship sailed away slowly. The Super War Fortress flew towards the Galactic Federation. Inside the Galaxy battleship, a black light curtain enveloped the entire Galaxy battleship, blocking everyone's sight. The Galaxy battleship is slowly flying in space. Su Yan sat on the super war fortress. He closed his eyes and meditated. In his mind, he was constructing the design drawings of the super war fortress. This time, he wants to improve this super war fortress to make it more suitable for fighting on the battlefield and stronger. One house after another appeared in Su Yan's mind. These are all buildings, and they are all designed according to the appearance of super war fortresses. This is a fully automated super war fortress. It can attack at any time and change its direction at will. As long as it is well controlled, it can easily avoid the enemy's attack and easily destroy the enemy's battle fortress. It can also hide in the void space, so that the enemy cannot find its trace. Such a super war fortress can be said to be invincible. Apart from those battle fortresses that can launch nuclear bombs and even control thunder warships, who else can do nothing to get the super war fortress? Rumble. Suddenly, the super war fortress was shocked, and in front of it, a silver battleship appeared. This silver battleship was also the front end of the super war fortress, and its speed was very fast, even faster than the super war fortress. This silver battleship should be a Galaxy battleship of the Star Federation. The interstellar warships of the Galactic Federation are very rare, and each military force of the Interstellar Federation will be allocated a certain number of military weapons and equipment, allowing them to protect the planet on the battlefield. This is also to prevent the strategic threat of the Interstellar Federation, as well as the invasion of the enemy. This silver battleship is the military battleship of the Galactic Federation, called the Galaxy battleship. This Galaxy battleship can carry 5 super war fortresses, and its performance is very good. The Galaxy battleship appeared, and the soldiers on this Galaxy battleship also jumped off the battleship one after another. Holding all kinds of weapons in their hands, they stood on the edge of the Galaxy battleship, staring vigilantly at the super war fortress of the Galactic Federation. The main gun of the Galaxy battleship can launch a star, which is a very terrifying weapon. If a shot hits the super war fortress will also be sunk by one shot. Boom! The main gun on the Galaxy battleship spewed out a ray of light and rushed towards the super war fortress. The super war fortress slammed into the main gun, smashing the main gun directly. At this moment, the Galaxy battleship suddenly fired a beam of light and charged towards the super war fortress. Boom! The super war fortress was hit by the main gun and retreated more than 10 kilometers, but the Galaxy battleship was also damaged. There was a puff of blue smoke in front of it, which was obviously damaged. Damn it, how could it be possible that the main gun of the Galaxy battleship did not break through the super battle fortress? It's scary, the super war fortress is really powerful. At this time, the people on the Galaxy battleship were also terrified. They could all see clearly that the cannonball hit the super war fortress without leaving even a trace. How hard is the super war fortress? Haha, the Galaxy battleship is nothing more than that. I thought how powerful it is. Galactic battleship is really too weak. I thought how powerful the Galaxy battleship was, but it turned out to be just a garbage battleship. At this time, the people on the Galaxy battleship were all mocking loudly. They believe that although the Galaxy battleship is very powerful, they have thousands of super war fortresses here. The Galaxy battleship is just a warship of a small galaxy. How could it be their opponent? Inside the Galaxy battleship, there was silence, and everyone was silent. The Galaxy battleship is indeed the #1 battleship in the universe. Such an attack cannot destroy the super war fortress. It may take a while before we want to destroy the super war fortress. Yes, I guess it will take a long time for this super war fortress to be repaired, but it doesn't matter. I have enough materials, which can be continuously provided to the super war fortress. I have a way. Su Yan was also excited on the super war fortress. This super war fortress has been perfected. I am going to transform the super war fortress into a main gun. Its power is very powerful. I can transform it into a large caliber gun. Su Yan transformed the super war fortress into a giant cannon. The shape of the cannon is very strange, like the mouth of a giant dragon. 710. The barrel is also very strange, it is made of many spikes, and the barrel is full of burning flames. The Super War Fortress is also a giant cannon. The turret on the Super War Fortress can shoot laser cannons one after another, which can penetrate all substances and all obstacles. Su Yan also arranged many laser cannons on the Super War Fortress. Boom! A laser beam shot out violently and hit the deck of a battleship. Boom! A violent explosion sounded. The deck of the Galaxy battleship collapsed directly, the glass windows of the cabin also shattered, and the whole ship was shaken violently. This Galaxy battleship also suffered heavy damage. Its hull was pierced by a laser beam, and a piece of the deck under the boat was also sunken. In the cabin, many iron and steel fragments were also blown to pieces. What? The soldiers on the galactic battleship were terrified. This Galaxy battleship, but a large interstellar battleship, was actually knocked out by a single shot by Su Yan, which is too terrifying. Among the Galaxy battleships, a soldier shouted, "No matter who you are, stop attacking immediately, otherwise, we will launch shelling." On the Galaxy battleship, there are 2 cannons, a main gun and a fighter plane. The artillery fire on these 2 interstellar motherships can both pose a threat to the Super War Fortress. Both of these 2 interstellar motherships can attack the defense of the Super War Fortress, causing loopholes in it. Boom! A series of bombardments bombarded the Super War Fortress. Su Yan also knows that the defense of the Super War Fortress is very different. He had already prepared many laser cannons. These laser cannons are all made of spar, and they are so powerful that they can destroy interstellar space. This time, the Super War Fortress did not use laser cannons to resist these artillery fires. Because there are many laser cannons inside the Super War Fortress, they are running and ready to launch at any time. Boom! The artillery fire continued to fall, and the Super War Fortress still stood tall without any loss. It seemed to be tireless and kept rushing forward. How is it possible? How could he withstand our artillery fire? This is the artillery fire of a super battleship. Is this Super War Fortress a treasure beyond the Galaxy level? The soldiers of the Galaxy battleship shouted in surprise. They really couldn't believe that the Super War Fortress was able to resist their artillery fire, which shocked them very much. Boom! Boom! A series of artillery bombardment, the artillery fire of the Galaxy battleship became more and more intensive. It's a pity that the power of the Galaxy battleship is still limited, and it can't penetrate the Super War Fortress at all, which makes many people despair. At this time, the Super War Fortress continued to move forward, and soon, it was going to approach the Galaxy battleship. Boom! At this time, another cannonball was shot out and bombarded the shield of the Super War Fortress. The shield trembled slightly, and the energy fluctuations on the shield also became chaotic, as if it was about to be defeated. Oops, the shield of the Super War Fortress is about to be broken. If this continues, the shield of the Super War Fortress will definitely be broken. Many people on the Galacticos became anxious. The shield of the Super War Fortress is very strong, even if a hole is broken, it can be restored. The defense of the Super War Fortress also has a limit. If the energy inside the Super War Fortress is exhausted, it will collapse directly. This is also one of Su Yan's concerns. Although the shield of the Super War Fortress is strong, it is not without any shortcomings. It can only ensure that the personnel inside the Super War Fortress will not be fatally injured. But if the Super War Fortress is destroyed, the personnel inside will be destroyed, which is a fatal loss for the Super War Fortress. Don't panic, everyone, don't get confused first. This situation should not happen. Because the core of the Super War Fortress, this is a space station beyond the star level, with very terrifying power. Even if it is a star-level powerhouse, it is impossible to destroy it. The shield of the Super War Fortress should not be destroyed. Once the Super War Fortress is attacked, it will automatically activate the energy defense system to protect the safety of the Super War Fortress. However, what if the energy system of the super war fortress is destroyed? How can we stop it? A soldier said worriedly. He is an ordinary soldier and has never participated in battles. Don't worry. If my guess is correct, this super war fortress is a spaceship with super high speed. Its spaceship carried a special energy. This kind of energy can increase the movement speed of the super war fortress, so as to achieve a faster speed. It can also reduce the attack power. This kind of energy should be the gunfire of the Galaxy battleship. If the artillery fire of that super battleship can destroy the energy shield of this super war fortress, then this energy shield will be repaired automatically. I guess, the super war fortress should use the gunfire of the Galaxy battleship to achieve the effect of flying. The speed is very fast, close to the speed of light. What speed? Many soldiers, upon hearing these words, immediately changed their expressions, showing horror. They knew the speed of light very well. What does that mean? That represents a terrifying weapon beyond the star field level, which turned out to be a weapon at the speed of light. In this way, it is simply wishful thinking and impossible for them to attack the super war fortress. And this super war fortress has a galaxy-level energy shield. Can such a shield really block weapons beyond the star field level? Many soldiers are very worried. What should we do? Are we just going to watch them come over? This is a galaxy-level weapon. If we let them rush in, our battleship will probably be completely destroyed. Some soldiers shouted loudly. Don't panic, at this time, just wait and see what happens. I believe that this super war fortress is not so easy to defeat. Everyone nodded and calmed down. Su Yan saw that all the soldiers on the Galaxy battleship calmed down, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The defense of the super war fortress is very strong. Even if a stellar bomb explodes, it is impossible to cause any damage to the super war fortress. Unless the quality of the star bomb is very low, otherwise, it will definitely be able to damage the energy defense cover of the super war fortress. Boom! Another shell hit. The energy defense cover of the super war fortress finally began to tremble, which was a sign that the super war fortress was about to be destroyed. Everyone get ready to defend! Su Yan shouted loudly. All soldiers were ready immediately. Inside the super war fortress, all the weapon systems are also running crazily. Nuahow, the operation of the energy shield became more and more rapid. A stream of energy began to condense, and quickly condensed into a layer of energy shield. This shield wraps the entire super war fortress. The inside of the energy shield is filled with those ultra-highly concentrated energies. The super concentrated energy is so powerful that it can easily tear apart a star. Energy can repair itself, and the defense of the super war fortress is very powerful. Suddenly, there was a crisp sound from the shield of the super war fortress. The hearts of many soldiers tightened. The next moment, a crack appeared in the huge energy shield, and the cracks became more and more dense. Puff! All the energy spars in the super war fortress exploded. After these crystals exploded, the energy generated was enormous. In an instant, a cloud of energy was formed. The color of this energy cloud is purple-black, and the color of the energy cloud is exactly the same color as the shell of the super war fortress. The defense capability of the super war fortress is stronger than Su Yan expected. Su Yan's face became serious. The super war fortress is indeed a weapon beyond the galaxy level. This level of attack was unable to cause the slightest damage to the super war fortress. This shocked Su Yan. Such a strong defense made him think of something. That is the energy spar loaded inside the super war fortress. These energy spars, like energy crystals, are the most precious energy spars in the universe. The energy in it is very thick and can be provided to the energy storage of the super war fortress at any time. In terms of energy storage, it is many times stronger than the energy spar in the universe. The few pieces of energy spar that Su Yan had obtained could only be used to make energy shields, and could not be used to launch shells and weapons at all. The super war fortress let out a muffled snort, as if unable to withstand such a blow, it began to tremble. This trembling lasted for a while, and finally stopped. The super war fortress still stands in place and has not been affected in any way. Seeing this situation, Su Yan felt relieved. The defense of this super war fortress is really against the sky. With a slight movement of Su Yan's mind, the energy shield of the super war fortress slowly disappeared. On the super war fortress, there are 3 big gaps. Obviously, due to the exhaustion of the energy shield, the super war fortress cannot withstand that kind of super concentrated energy attack. The energy shield of the super war fortress disappeared. Su Yan immediately ordered the super war fortress to sail forward, preparing to enter the starship and destroy the galaxy battleship. However, at this moment, Su Yan's face suddenly changed drastically. I saw that countless energy shields suddenly flew out from the interstellar mothership in the distance. All are combined with ultra-high concentrated energy. These energy shields are so strong that even super war fortresses cannot be damaged. Su Yan's heart twitched intermittently, and his face was extremely ugly. Super war fortress, although the defense is extremely powerful. CDDC, if the super war fortress is breached, the lives of Su Yan and others will be in jeopardy. Because of the ultra-highly concentrated energy attack, once it hits the super war fortress, it can destroy the super war fortress. The energy storage in the super war fortress will also be completely destroyed. At that time, everyone in the super war fortress will die, and even the entire battleship will be destroyed. Damn it! Su Yan cursed secretly. What should we do now? The people on the side couldn't help asking. Su Yan frowned and said, retreat. Return to the universe immediately. No. Please be careful. You withdraw now, and we too will be destroyed. Su Yan's decision caused many soldiers to refute. Su Yan glanced around coldly. Who dares to stop me? You all know that this matter must not be leaked out. I am ordering to evacuate the battlefield, return to the universe. Yes. A group of people responded one after another, and then they retreated backwards, preparing to leave here. Whizzing. At this moment, shells shot from all directions, launching an attack on the super war fortress. Countless small cracks have appeared on the energy shield of the super war fortress. The energy shield shattered one after another. The defense of the super war fortress can block the attack of super concentrated energy. The range of energy attacks is too wide, and these energy attacks can continuously launch attacks. Being attacked all the time like this, the defense power of the super war fortress will definitely be exhausted, and by then, it will be its end. Su Yan must make a quick decision. Su Yan waved his arms, and spaceships flew out of the super war fortress to face the enemy head-on. Kill. A group of soldiers in heavy armor, holding steel spears, rushed in all directions, colliding with those energy shields. The defense capability of the super war fortress is unparalleled, and these energy attacks pose no threat to it at all. Boom. Boom. The energy shields of the 2 super war fortresses collided together, and a terrifying shock wave erupted immediately, and the shells were knocked away one by one. Su Yan's methods are very sharp. The super war fortress in his hand is indeed the highest technology of super civilization, and the super concentrated energy shield is very hard. Once the attack hits the energy shield can remove all the attacks on the energy shield. Rebound all the energy attacks. The rebounded energy attacks have no effect on the defensive energy shield of the super war fortress, but knock those shells out of the hospital. This kind of super concentrated energy attack is nothing to Su Yan. In his hands, there are more powerful defensive weapons. A huge fireball was thrown by him and smashed towards the super war fortress ahead. The defense of the super war fortress can easily resist the energy shield, but it cannot resist those flame energy attacks. A huge fireball hit the super war fortress fiercely, and an incomparably powerful spark burst out, smashing the defense of the super war fortress to pieces. On the super war fortress, more than 100 energy combat mechs turned their muzzles one after another, and fired fiercely at the huge fireball. These energy combat mechas all possess extremely powerful energy artillery fire. Once the energy artillery fire hits the huge fireball, it will be able to shatter the huge fireball immediately. Then release the energy in the fireball to form a huge energy explosion. Su Yan observed all this from the sidelines and saw that the defense of the super war fortress was breached. There was a smile on his face, and his goal was achieved. Now, he has completely lifted the defense of the super war fortress. In an instant, the super war fortress was reduced to ashes and dissipated in the world. The moment the super war fortress was destroyed, Su Yan and his men jumped into another super war fortress one after another. Then, quickly started the super war fortress. The super war fortress quickly lifted off and galloped away into the distance. Su Yan stood in the cab of the super war fortress, looking around. There was a solemn look in his eyes. In his mind, he was planning quickly. Whoosh! At this moment, an energy combat mecha suddenly flew from a distance. The speed of the energy combat mech is very fast, leaving an afterimage in the air, which is thousands of miles away. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee. Or checking out my shirts on TeePublic. Boom! The energy combat mecha slammed into the defensive energy shield of the super war fortress, and a violent shock erupted. The energy shield trembled violently, and a huge depression appeared on the surface of the energy shield. The energy combat mech was also sent flying by the countershock force and fell to the ground. Su Yan looked surprised. There is an energy combat mech that can produce such a violent energy explosion on his energy shield. The defensive energy of the energy combat mech is really too strong. Su Yan was not afraid because of this. Instead, a look of joy appeared on his face. Although the energy shield of the super war fortress was breached, Su Yan inside the energy shield did not suffer any damage. He can still continue to control the energy battle mech. In the super war fortress, there are still a large number of spaceships, which can be mobilized at any time to replenish the loss of the energy shield. You rubbish ship, relying on these rags to block my energy cannon? It's really stupid. Su Yan glanced coldly at the energy battle mecha that was blown out, his eyes flickering with sarcasm. Energy combat mech is a product of super civilization. In this world, only super civilizations can develop energy combat mechs. The super combat mech can absorb all the energy in the human body. Then, become your own source of energy. In this way, the super battle mech possesses the power of indestructibility, just like a war fortress. The defense of the super battle mech is also quite astonishing. Even Su Yan, there is no way to defeat such a war mech. Su Yan's face was a little gloomy, and he didn't expect that this operation failed. His face darkened, and he ordered to the cockpit of the super battle mecha, shoot down that energy battle mech, at all costs. Su Yan was very angry in his heart now. This action was a complete failure. Hearing Su Yan's words, the pilot of the super battle mecha immediately manipulated the super battle mecha, and attacked it frantically. Although the energy attack of the super battle mech can't break through Su Yan's energy shield, it can repel the energy battle mech and greatly reduce the speed of the super battle mech. On the other side, Su Yan's subordinates also attacked frantically, throwing energy bombs one after another at the super battle mech. The super battle mech was bombarded and retreated again and again, and its speed became much slower. However, the super battle mech is still not to be outdone. It accelerated violently, and chased towards Su Yan, intending to attack the energy combat mech again. However, as soon as the super war mecha ran a few steps, a black hole appeared behind it and devoured it. A super war mecha, wrapped in a black hole. The super war mecha let out a mournful sound, and then it was swallowed by the black hole and turned into shattered pieces. The energy on the super battle mech has been completely absorbed. The super battle mech finally disappeared. There was a smile on Su Yan's face. The outcome of this battle is already doomed. They can't stop the attack of super civilization at all. Su Yan sneered, and then flew towards the super civilized warship. Along the way, they also encountered many other civilizations. These other civilizations also come from various forces. And they all panicked when they saw the warships of super civilizations. Su Yan's mood is also very good, after all super civilization is his most hated enemy. This war, they won. Ha ha ha, victory. Su Yan shouted loudly. In his ears, there was no response, only occasional bursts of explosions. Obviously, the war was over. Those super civilized people will definitely not let it go, they will definitely attack their super war fortress again. Su Yan sneered. He waved. The super war fortress flew towards the distance. Those super civilized fighters followed closely behind, and they wanted to hunt down the super war fortress. Su Yan watched this scene, ignored them, and left directly. The super civilization wants to attack the super war fortress, how can Su Yan let them succeed? Those high-level civilizations of super civilizations are also chasing super war fortresses. They chased all the way, and soon saw the super war fortress. The super war fortress stopped in midair, asking for flowers. Then Su Yan waved his hand, causing the super war fortress to charge towards the super civilized army. The super civilized soldiers are frantically chasing the super war fortress. The super war fortress rushed in front of those super civilized soldiers, bursting out with a burst of intense energy light. Those soldiers were annihilated one after another amidst energy fluctuations. That ray of energy shrouded the super war fortress. The super civilized soldiers were strangled into nothingness by the energy in the energy light. The super war fortress continued to fly forward. At this time, the battleship of the super civilization had already pursued tens of thousands of kilometers behind the super war fortress. 0, they began to attack the super war fortress violently. Super civilized battleships, artillery shells, and aircraft are constantly attacking super war fortresses. Su Yan stood in the cockpit of the super war fortress, and when he saw those super civilized warships attacking, he snorted coldly. The defensive shield of the super war fortress burst out with a powerful energy zone, offset those energy light balls one after another. Energy shells, aircraft, and even battleships. In front of the defensive shield of the super war fortress, it was all offset. Then the defensive cover of the super war fortress continued to rush forward. Those battleships, aircrafts, and warships avoided one after another, making way for a gap, allowing the super war fortress to pass through. The super war fortress rampaged all the way. Everything blocking the front was destroyed by the energy beam of the super war fortress, and it was impossible to intercept the super war fortress at all. The warships and aircraft of super civilization can't stop the super war fortress at all, and can only watch the super war fortress. Little by little, they approached the base of the super civilization, and rushed towards the location of the leader of the super civilization. This time, Su Yan really made up his mind that he would never let the leader of the super civilization go easily, and would make the super civilization pay a heavy price. This time, let you have a taste of what death is. Su Yan sneered. They fled in all directions. How can their speed compare to the speed of the super war fortress? The super war fortress kept hitting them. Along the way, where we pass, not a single blade of grass grows. Their spacecraft, also in front of the super war fortress, looked fragile. The super war fortress, like a huge tank, crushed their car fiercely. The power of the super war fortress is terrifying. Damn, who the hell is he, and why does he have such a warship? They screamed in terror. Super civilized people also regretted it one after another. If they had known this guy had such a powerful warship, they would never have launched an attack hastily. Fortunately, they suffered heavy losses and countless casualties, and their strength had also dropped to the lowest point. They also stopped chasing Su Yan, turned around and flew towards the super war fortress. Beside Su Yan, there are many warships, with more than 3 and 3, constantly chasing Su Yan. They dare not let Su Yan continue to escape. Su Yan's super war fortress is simply too powerful. The corner of Su Yan's mouth revealed a trace of coldness. His super war fortress has also returned to its peak condition. Su Yan's super war fortress flew forward fiercely. He wants to destroy all these warships and aircraft. Break me. Su Yan snorted coldly. He manipulated the super battle fortress and slammed into a super battleship fiercely. Suddenly, the super battleship was shattered like glass. Then the super war fortress turned sharply and rushed towards another battleship. Then the super war fortress slammed into another battleship again. Boom! The super warship was smashed into two pieces by Su Yan's super war fortress. The super war fortress rammed towards another battleship again. At this moment, all super warships stopped attacking. They were all trembling with fright. Super war fortress, it's horrible. Su Yan's super war fortress, like a huge armored motorcycle, rampages and sprints forward. Their super warships can't stop the advance of the super war fortress at all. Under the impact of the super war fortress, they continued to rupture. Then the super war fort continued to rush forward. The warships of super civilization also fled away one after another. At this time, the super civilization was completely scared out of its wits. They don't want to be enemies with Su Yan, they just want to escape from this place, not to be enemies with Su Yan. Su Yan's super war fortress continued to rush forward. His speed was very fast, and he quickly caught up with other warships, smashing them into ruins one after another. The personnel of these battleships all fled. Only some wreckage remained, floating there. Su Yan snorted coldly, then controlled the super war fortress and rushed forward. Soon, the super war fortress rushed into the base of the super civilization. In the base of the super civilization, there is a mess. Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress and came to the front of a metal building. This building is the base of super civilization. The leader of the super civilization lives here. Suji manipulated the super war fortress and slammed into the base of the super civilization. Boom! A powerful shock force spread out. The base of the entire super civilization also turned into powder at this moment. This base of super civilization was destroyed like this. This makes the personnel on other battleships feel unbelievable. That is the base of super civilization. Our bases are all made of special materials. How could he crash it? The base of a super civilization is much stronger than our base, and he was able to destroy the base of a super civilization. This guy is too powerful, where did he emerge from? Everyone was discussing and felt a burst of disbelief. Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress and flew back to the original galaxy. Su Yan finally breathed a sigh of relief. The base of the super civilization is destroyed by him, and these super civilized clansmen will also suffer great losses. I don't know how many years the super civilization will lose. Moreover, the technology of super civilization is far less powerful than Su Yan's super war fortress. Such a super war fortress will be an invincible high-tech weapon for a long time to come. All these losses are borne by the super civilization. This also makes Su Yan very satisfied. The base of the super civilization is destroyed, and the personnel of the super civilization will also be damaged to a certain extent, which is also the result he wants. In the base of the super civilization, there are still many supplies. Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress and flew to the material warehouse of the super civilization. At the door of the material warehouse, there are many super civilized soldiers standing, holding weapons in their hands, staring at the super war fortress warily. They have all seen the power of the super war fortress, and they have all sensed the power of Su Yan's super war fortress. Therefore, these super civilized fighters dare not attack rashly. Who are you? We are a legion of super civilizations. You cannot break in here without authorization, otherwise, you will be an enemy of super civilizations. If you dare to enter our army, we will kill you. A group of super civilized fighters shouted at Su Yan. Your legion? Since you are a super civilized legion, you should know me, right? Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress, slowly suspended in the air, and glanced at these super civilized fighters indifferently. Are you Su Yan? These super civilized fighters all looked at Su Yan in surprise. Su Yan nodded, that's right. I didn't expect that you dared to come to our country, you really want to die. A super civilized warrior yelled at Su Ziren. Not only do I want to kill you, I also want to destroy your country. The star field where your country 5.3 is located is all annexed by me, making you my slaves, and making you unable to stand up forever. Su Yan sneered, and said to those super-civilized fighters. Su Yan's tone of voice was very domineering, full of arrogance. Ha ha ha. Hearing Su Yan's words, these super-civilized fighters all burst into laughter. How dare you talk to me like this? Do you know what our super-civilization represents? Behind us, there is endless wealth and power. What we have is money, what we have is talent, what we have is strength, and we have endless wealth and strength. We are invincible. Our power can destroy anyone. These super-civilized fighters all said arrogantly. That being the case, then give it a try, if you can destroy me. In Su Yan's super war fortress, a ray of light suddenly burst out. The light shrouded the base of the super-civilization. In the base of the super-civilization, there was a series of roaring sounds. In the base of the super-civilization, countless flames appeared. Some super-civilized fighters were also destroyed by Su Yan's super war fortress. Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress and continued to drive forward. Su Yan's super war fortress is extremely fast, surpassing all spaceships and surpassing everything. Along the way, he destroyed many warships of super-civilization, and then took away all the internal resources of these warships. Super-civilized warships are like toys in front of Su Xian. Su Yan ran all the way, constantly destroying the warships of the super-civilization. Boom. The super war fortress finally arrived at the base 23 of the super-civilization. The defense here is also the weakest. Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress and flew into the base of the super-civilization. In the base of the super-civilization, there are burning flames everywhere, a mess, and abandoned items everywhere. In the base of the super-civilization, there are human corpses everywhere, and there are many corpses of super-civilized fighters. The super-civilized super-soldiers all fell to the ground, their bodies were blown to pieces, and their blood spattered. The super war fortress has landed in the base of the super-civilization. The figure of Su Yan also flew out from the super war fortress and landed in the base of the super-civilization. Su Yan stood in the center of the base, looking at the super-civilized people in front of him with cold eyes. These super-civilized people all stared at Su Yan with wide eyes. Su Yan, you dare to kill our people, we will never let you go. A super-civilized warrior roared while gnashing his teeth. The corner of Su Yan's mouth drew an evil curve. You bastards are even worthy of being a super-civilized person, and you are not worthy of being called a super-civilized person at all. Now, let me send you to die. Boom. Su Yan controlled the super war fortress and rushed into the base of the super-civilization. The super-civilized super-soldiers all ran away in a hurry. No, our super battleship is destroyed. The super-soldiers shouted. Although super battleships can fly, their flying distance is limited, and super battleships are just a single soldier spaceship. Its flying speed is very slow, and it is easy to be overtaken by Su Yan. Therefore, these super-civilized fighters can only choose to escape. In the process of escaping, their super warships will be attacked by Su Yan's super war fortress. In the base of the super-civilization, there are spaceships and warship wreckage everywhere. The main body of the super battleship was also completely destroyed by Su Yan. One after another, the super warships became dilapidated under the destruction of the super battle fortress. No, our super warships are all destroyed. Damn it. Don't worry about this, run for your life. Don't bother with Su Yan anymore, we have no ability to compete with him. These super-civilized fighters are all desperately fleeing. Their super battleship was destroyed by Su Yan. They can't repair it either. Their super warships are like ordinary warships. They can only maintain the facilities in the base and cannot fly at all. Boom. After destroying the base of the super-civilization, they continued to drive forward. In the base of super-civilization, there are not many facilities anymore. They are all buildings, and only some houses can still be used. Su Yan drives the super war fortress and drives in front of these buildings. The head of a super soldier was directly chopped off by Su Yan. Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress and continued to drive forward. Ah! Help! Don't come here again! You devil, you devil! The soldiers of super civilization shouted frantically. When they saw Su Yan, it was like seeing a devil. They were terrified and kept retreating to the rear to avoid Su Yan. You rubbish, give me to die. With a cold snort, Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress and rushed forward. The super battle fortress slammed into a super battleship fiercely, and the super battleship was directly smashed into pieces, broken into countless pieces, and fell into the base. Boom! Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress, constantly attacking these super warships, smashing them into pieces. At this moment, these super fighters were finally afraid. They no longer dared to fight Su Yan head-on, and fled to the distance one after another. The Legion of Super Civilization is also evacuating here. Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress, chasing the fleeing super civilized fighters, catching up little by little. Boom! Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress, violently hitting the super warships one after another. Su Yan's super war fortress was very fast, and quickly caught up with the super civilized fighters. Pooh! There were explosions from time to time, and the super tanks were smashed into powder, scattered on the ground, and turned into scrap iron. These super civilized fighters all frantically ran for their lives. Su Yan controls the super war fortress, rampages in the base 477 of the super civilization, destroying super warships one after another. A super civilized warrior was destroyed by the super war fortress and died in the hands of the super war fortress. The super chariots rampaged in the base of the super civilization, one after another super civilized fighters were crushed by the super war fortress. The super civilized soldiers were all frightened by the super war fortress, and they all fled wherever they dared to resist. When Su Yan destroyed these super civilized fighters, he also discovered one thing. He found that there seemed to be a special atmosphere in the base of the super civilization. That breath is very powerful, many times stronger than the super fighters. This breath came from a huge stone tablet. This huge stone tablet is also moving in the base of the super civilization, constantly hitting the warships of other super civilizations. This huge stone tablet is exactly that mysterious stone tablet, and the breath on this stone tablet is exactly the same as the breath of those super soldiers. Su Yan immediately manipulated the super war fortress and slammed into the huge stone monument. Boom! The huge stone tablet was knocked into the air. At this time, the high-tech products in the base of the super civilization were also destroyed by Su Yan. When those super civilized fighters were killed by super fighters, those super fighters also suffered heavy losses, almost completely lost. The weapon systems on the super fighter were all destroyed by Su Yan. Su Yan gained a lot from this battle, and the number of Su Yan's super fighters increased by about 300. Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress and rushed towards the huge stone tablet. Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress and slammed into the huge stone tablet. This stone tablet has not received any damage, and it is still running continuously, exuding a powerful aura. The battery on the super fighter was exhausted in an instant, and the electromagnetic gun on the super fighter was also extinguished. The super fighter lost its power supply, so naturally it couldn't continue to attack. While Su Yan was manipulating the super war fortress, he also stopped unconsciously. What is this thing? How can it be so hard? Su Yan frowned. All his super fighters hit it, but they didn't hit the steel. This steel is really weird. Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress, and suddenly swooped down on the steel, trying to destroy it. When the super war fortress hit the stone tablet, it was suddenly ejected. Su Yan felt that his super fighter was protected by a layer of transparent barrier, and the super fighter could not rush into that transparent barrier at all. Could it be that this stone tablet is the energy inside this stone tablet? Su Yan observed carefully. This steel, like other steels, has an extremely smooth surface, without a single blemish, without any protrusions. This steel seems to be made of some special material. What material is this made of? Su Yan thought to himself. He tried to manipulate the super war fortress to hit the steel. The super war fortress slammed into the stone tablet again. Su Yan's super war fortress is not only extremely fast, but also extremely powerful, and the impact force is even more astonishing, knocking this stone tablet into the air. The steel was knocked away by Su Yan. Su Yan manipulated the super war fortress and quickly hit the back of the steel. Su Yan found that there are many grooves on the steel. These grooves should be opened by super civilizations using weapons. This steel should be the weapon of these super civilizations. The weapons of super civilizations are extremely powerful. Once the weapons are opened, the power is equivalent to the attack power of ordinary super warships. This should be the energy core of the steel. Su Yan manipulated the super fighter and approached the steel. There are many grooves on the stone tablet, and these grooves are shining brightly. These rays of light seem to be the energy of a super civilization. Su Yan controlled the super fighter and approached the steel. The energy on the stone tablet is getting stronger and stronger. Su Yan manipulated the super fighter, approached the stone tablet, and then began to absorb the energy on the stone tablet to replenish the super energy emperor he consumed. Su Yan continuously injects super energy into the steel. The super fighter planes are constantly devouring the energy inside the stone tablet, while Su Yan is manipulating the super war fortress, and it is constantly hitting the stone tablet. While devouring the supplies in the base of the super civilization, Su Yan kept hitting the stone tablet. Boom! Su Yan manipulated the super fighter to hit it violently, and there was a violent explosion sound on the E-stone tablet. Su Yan manipulated the super fighter and quickly retreated towards the distance. The energy on the steel is really terrifying. Super fighters can't bear such a powerful energy at all. This steel is definitely a powerful treasure. Su Yan controlled the super fighter and sped towards the outside quickly. Boom! Su Yan manipulated the super fighter and crashed into a super building. That building, like ordinary houses, was reduced to ashes in an instant. The energy on the stone tablet is too huge. Although the super fighter can withstand the energy, it can no longer withstand the energy and can only be destroyed by the energy. Su Yan manipulated the super fighter and flew towards the distance, quickly. The energy on the stone tablet is getting stronger and stronger. Su Yan controls the super fighter, and can no longer move forward, but the super fighter can bear it. Boom! The super fighter flew fast in the air and crashed many houses. The base of a super civilization has been completely destroyed under the crazy impact of super fighters. The super civilization was destroyed. Su Yan controls the super fighter plane to fly south and abroad continuously in the air. Su Yan's super fighter is also constantly consuming energy, but Su Yan is not afraid of consuming energy. The super fighter itself is a treasure house of energy. As long as there is enough energy in the super fighter, the energy in the super fighter can always be used by Su Yan. The super fighter flew out of the area. In the void outside this area, there are countless space battleships, and those super space battleships are besieging and suppressing the alien races here. Each of these super space battleships has a power of more than 400 million tons. With so many super space battleships, each battleship possesses terrifying destructive power. Super warships passed by here. When the super space battleships pass by, those alien races will also encounter attacks and be destroyed by those super space battleships. Su Yan manipulated the super fighter and kept flying away from this area, avoiding the super space battleship. Under Su Yan's control, the super fighter planes keep flying, and the super space battleships dare not easily track Su Yan. Because of the super space battleship, those buildings that were destroyed by Su Yan must also be taken into account, otherwise they will suffer heavy losses. The super space battleship continued to fly outwards, and soon came to the solar system. Su Yan controlled the super fighter and came to the sky above the solar system. Boom! A super space battleship collided with the shell of the super fighter. and many cracks appeared on the shell of the super fighter. Su Yan quickly manipulated the super fighter to avoid the pursuit of the super space battleship. Su Yan didn't have many goals on this planet, so he could only keep running away. Su Yan controlled the super fighter, landed on the platform, and then controlled the super fighter to fly away from the planet. This planet is too dangerous, the super space battleship will definitely come here to hunt him down. Su Yan controls the super fighter and keeps flying outwards. He has flown tens of thousands of kilometers away from this planet, and the super fighter has been far away from the category of super space battleship. Super space battleships, and no super fighters, can be found at all. Along the way, they encountered countless interstellar pirates, and they all thought that Su Yan was going to attack them. These pirates are very ferocious, and they all have terrifying fighting power. They constantly fire shells at the super fighters. Boom! The artillery shells roared, and the artillery fire attacked Su Yan intensively. Su Yan manipulated the super fighter, dodging constantly, avoiding the attack of artillery fire. Although the threat of these artillery fires is powerful, it is nothing to a super fighter. Boom! The shell bombarded the shell of the super fighter, splashing a lot of sparks, but it didn't break the shell of the super fighter. These artillery fires can only blow up a little trace of the outer shell of the super fighter. The shell of the super fighter is extremely hard, and it is not afraid of the bombardment of artillery fire at all. Inside the super fighter, there is also a layer of defensive shield, which will not be hit by shells at all. However, the attack of the shells also consumed more than half of the super fighter's internal energy. Inside the super fighter, the energy consumption is extremely high. If the energy is not enough, the energy inside the super fighter will dissipate autonomously, turning into a pile of scrap iron. Su Yan is driving a super fighter, constantly flying on this planet. Constantly avoiding the attack of artillery fire, constantly flying. The super fighter does not know how long 373 has been flying. Boom! Another shell fell, directly piercing a hole in the shell of the super fighter. This time, the energy of the shell was so strong that it directly pierced the shell of the super fighter. The shell of the super fighter also has a large amount of energy reserves, so the outer wall of the shell is still extremely smooth. However, the energy reserve is also constantly being consumed, and the capacity is also constantly weakening. The energy reserve of the super fighter has been reduced by 2/3. Su Yan glanced at the energy reserve of the super fighter. The energy reserve has been almost exhausted. If the battle continues, the super fighter will be completely reimbursed. Su Yan glanced at the surrounding environment, then flew away from this planet, and flew towards a more distant planet. He must now leave this planet as soon as possible. The deterrent power of the super space battleship is too strong. Once the super space battleship tracks down this planet, Su Yan cannot escape at all. Su Yan is driving a super fighter, galloping, constantly flying towards further planets. After several months of flying, Su Yan finally left this planet. After Su Yan left this planet, he immediately stopped flying, and then controlled the super fighter to fly towards another planet. At this time, Su Yan suddenly heard a loud noise in his ear. Su Yan looked at the source of the sound, and it turned out to be the planet. That planet, in the universe, is constantly exploding. The energy generated by the explosion caused the entire universe to continuously vibrate. Mushroom clouds rose up one after another, and from time to time, fiery red smoke columns rose to a height of several kilometers. Su Yan drove a super fighter and flew into the depths of space. The super space battleship did not pursue this way, they did not pursue this planet. Finally left the planet. On the super fighter plane, Su Yan breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that he finally got rid of the super space battleship, but the super space battleship did not give up chasing, they were still chasing the super fighter plane. But super fighters fly very fast. Even though the interior of the super fighter consumes a lot of energy, the flight system inside the super fighter is very high-end, so the flight system of the super fighter can still fly. Boom! The flight system of the super fighter accelerated suddenly, and flew several million kilometers in an instant. Su Yan sat down inside the super fighter. His face was exhausted, but his spirit was very excited. Rumble. At this moment, that super space battleship tracked to the place where Su Yan was again, and the shells of the super space battleship continued to bombard the super fighter. CDCG, in space, the super fighters are constantly dodging the gunfire attacks of the super space battleships. However, there is still energy consumption inside the super fighter. The flight system of the super fighter is not invincible. After all, the energy reserve is limited. If the energy reserve is exhausted, the flight system of the super fighter will collapse on its own. Call. Su Yan let out a long breath of relief. Finally escaped from that planet, but this planet is not very safe. The super battleship will find him sooner or later. At this moment, the energy reserve of the super fighter was almost exhausted, and the flight system of the super fighter completely collapsed at this moment. Boom! The super fighter plane fell suddenly and fell to the ground, becoming riddled with holes. Inside the super fighter, Empress Su also fell down. This planet is an ordinary planet, and there is no danger, but Su Yan still chose to come down, because the energy reserve inside the super fighter is almost exhausted. After Su Yan fell to the ground, he quickly took out the energy potion, poured a bottle, and recovered his energy. After almost recovering the energy, Su Yan drove the super fighter again and left the planet. A huge super warship suddenly appeared on this planet. This super warship was full of soldiers, armed with weapons, searching for Su Yan's whereabouts. Find him and catch him alive. Inside the super space battleship, a middle-aged man said to an officer next to him. This man is the captain of the super space battleship. Is long. The super battleship began to sail crazily, heading towards Su Yan's direction. The speed of the super battleship was extremely fast, and it took only 2 days to catch up with Su Yan's super fighter. The speed of the super fighter increased again, but it still couldn't get rid of the super space battleship. The super battleship fiercely attacked the super fighter plane. The super fighter plane was constantly being hit hard, and there was a violent explosion sound from inside. It seemed that the inside had cracked and was about to be completely destroyed. Su controlled the super fighter, flying rapidly in the air, and at the same time controlled the super fighter, constantly dodging the attacks of the super space battleship, making the super fighter constantly shaking. The interior of the super fighter is already seriously damaged, and it may be damaged at any time. The flight system of the super fighter has completely failed and cannot fly. The super fighter is like a failed car and cannot continue to fly. Boom! Suddenly, there was an explosion in the super fighter. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.